all the way onto your back. Just nice and flat. Let the body start to relax. A position of openness is what we're looking for. So begin already to slow down the breath. Purposely trying to lengthen the inhales. Lengthen the exhales. As we're breathing so deep into the body, imagine this breath is touching upon the place that you imagine storing your energy in your system. So as you're taking these slow, deep breaths, this is a check-in moment. How are the energy reserves doing? If it was a battery, what is the battery reading at right now? Keep on breathing. In the yoga philosophy, there is a word called ojas. And this means the deep energy reserve that we have. And when we tip our energy reserves just slightly too far, that's when sickness, illness starts to happen. I know for me, it's oftentimes related to sleep. If I've been going just long enough without getting enough sleep, the energy reserves start to tip out of balance. I start to get headaches. I start to just feel more drained as I'm going throughout my day. So imagine that battery or that pot, that reserve of your deep energy. And as we go through our class today, the intention is using these slow, gentle, restorative movements to slowly start adding a spoonful of reserve here, a bowl full here. We're just slowly starting to fill up that stew pot, inch by inch, cup by cup, so that we leave the end of class feeling refreshed for all that's ahead of us in this next week. So one more huge breath just to get us started. Fill that reserve, fill that battery. Nice long, slow exhale. And from here, take a moment to rub your hands together. Create a little bit of heat, a little bit of friction rubbing. When you feel nice warmth, place the hands over the bases of the palm over the eyes. Just feel that nice warmth, that restfulness for all the muscles surrounding the eyes. So many muscles we don't realize are necessary for the eyes, and feel all of those muscles relax. Like this new heaviness. Take a deep breath into the belly. Nice relaxing exhale. And when you start to lift up the hands, lift up gently so that the eyes are very slowly exposed to the light. And then the fingertips are going to come up like a pitter-patter of rain, falling all along the hair area, scalp. So pitter-patter up high, pitter-patter tracing backwards, sideways, over the ears, all over the scalp. For me, it's easy to go quite some bit of time without ever really touching my scalp. So when I do, there's so much sensation. Couple more breaths like that. When the hands fall open on the ground, you take a breath or two just to feel how the energy in your body is now. Just those two simple things, and already it seems like instead of the battery getting drained, it's now flipped the other direction. It's starting to charge. So from here, let's get a little bit of the energy going into the legs. So the right knee is going to start going into the chest. Let the hands hug around that right knee. And invite that right knee to do some easy movements, whatever feels good. This could be a left and right type of movement. This could be a circular kind of movement. This could be pulsing to get the knee pulled in closer to shoulder and then relaxing back out. Just give that hip just tender, simple little movements. Sometimes the smaller movements are the more effective ones. Instead of trying to trace the knee like a huge basketball, trying to trace it more like a little tiny ping pong ball. Good, and we'll start to take a twist. So this knee crosses over the body. It may feel nice to rest the knee on a bolster. If you like that, slide your bolster under the knee. If you prefer just to let the knee float instead, that's also fine. So that beautiful line of energy, tracing all the way across the side of the thigh, up the hip, up the spine, and that nice twist up the shoulder, maybe even include the neck, gazing over the right side. Continue to lengthen the breath. I'm going to draw the breath out as long as possible. Take 3 more cycles. Good. After all 3, slowly unwind from the twist. Eventually the right foot is in contact with the floor, slide it long. And then almost like a spring action, bouncing back and forth. This right leg is gonna slide in, the foot is in contact with the ground, so the knee goes wide through the side, and then just throw that leg out. Slide it back in through the side and throw it out. Let's do another 3 for that right side. And throw. 2. 1. Good. Let it rest. Take a breath. Let it flow in. Out. If you used the bolster before, perhaps already set up the bolster on the second side. When that's in place, start to take the left knee in. Hands can hug around that knee and introduce those little movements that feel helpful, whether it's circular, forward, backward, left, and right. here, we'll start to take the twist. This knee starts to cross over the body. Maybe it rests on the bolster, or maybe it continues to hover, relaxing into gravity. Feel how the energy is on this side. Like sometimes we get into this part of the battery and we realize, oh, maybe this side just feels different. Maybe it's more energized, maybe it's more drained. Just check in with it. Perhaps include the head. Definitely include the breath. Another 3 breaths. Try to get it extra long, extra slow. Again, after all 3, gradually return hips to the ground. That left foot is on the ground, slide it long. We pull the knee through the side, the foot's dragging on the ground, and then we throw the leg out, back to where it was. With an inhale, I'll slide it in, exhale, throw it out. Another 3, 2, 1. Good. Feel the spine on the ground now. Feel the legs. Beautiful. Inhale. Long, long exhale. As the knees start to come back up, both of them this time, take a moment for the low back to be rocking on the ground, the hips rocking. Again, it's whatever type of movement feels helpful. Forward, backwards, circles. Get into that low back area, one of those areas of chronic tightness for many. Just allow this gentle movement to loosen up the low back. Good. From here back to stillness. The hands slide up to happy baby. Try to reach for feet. If not feet, grab shins. The feet are lifting up above knees, if possible. And again, choose the quality that works for you. Some days is a quality of rocking still. That feels best for the low back. Great. Some days it's stillness, trying to pull on the legs. Providing the knees just a little bit wider. Some days for the low back, I even take a quality of trying to press the sacrum back down. So oftentimes by grabbing feet, the hips kind of lift up a little bit. So some days it feels nice to keep it lifted, curling in like a ball. Some days it feels nice to just press that sacrum back down, flattening the low back. Choose a quality that's helpful, not too energy demanding. more inhale here. Exhale. When we release the hands, the grip, drop the feet close to the hip, close to the glutes. We're gonna lift the hips up like a bridge pose. And from the hip lift, we're gonna shimmy the hips out. So kind of like a little dancing movement to shake the hips. This is one for me that feels really good for that low back area. So remind it that those muscles don't have to be so clenched and tight all the time. So we'll do another count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, drop the hips back to the earth. And let's roll to a fetal position for a couple of breaths. Feel how that is for the low back. Feel how calm the breath is if it picked up at all from the shimmy. And pressing into the ground, let's rise up to a seated place. We're gonna tuck the left foot into the right thigh. We're gonna start to work into a forward fold. So if you know already you want to sit on the bolster, that's fine. I personally love to grab the bolster, slide it in as something to rest onto. So whatever feels useful, take it into that position. The back feels supported, but just a comfortable stretch as well. I personally love to have the head resting, so if it's not close to that, you could always stack palms. 2 fists adds like 6 inches or so that's an option, but you don't have to have that. We'll be here for a little while, so feel free to just continuously listen to the body and adjust as the body discovers things that might be helpful. For instance, sometimes I start in one spot and it feels good, but then after a little while, it's like, oh, my back doesn't like how rounded it is at this point. So then I'll take a moment to lengthen the spine. And then from that really long spine, I might tilt forward again. Another example might be that right foot. Maybe you take a couple of rounds to just kind of circle the toes around. Noticing how just loosening up some tension in one part of the body could ease it naturally through the rest, kind of like a fractal. Another 3 delicious breaths here. That third one, gently rise up. We'll start to switch it out. So now it's left leg that's extending. That same gradual process. So the first step might not look like how you are at the very end, But set up a good spot that feels good at this point. Perhaps this is the point we start to adjust if there's any movements that would be useful. We'll take another 3 breaths, try to keep it slow. For all 3, we're gently sitting up. Let's slide this leg into a comfortable seated place. And let's take the alternate nostril breathing. So with this one, you take your right hand and you fold down with the pointer and the middle finger. From there, it's going to be your thumb and then your ring finger that alternate between blocking off a nostril. So we start off, just drop it down, take a normal breath in through both nostrils. Nice inhale. Nice exhale through both. Plug off the right nostril with the thumb. Inhale left. Switch to exhale right. Inhale right. We always do the switch to exhale left. Inhale left. Switch to exhale right. Inhale right. Switch to exhale left. Take 3 more rounds. Inhale left. Imagine it's drawing energy directly into the battery. Switch to exhale right. Inhale right. Switch to exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Last exhale left. Releasing the hands, slide the bolster long ways behind your back. going to take a nice little back bend over it. So hands come in on either side, lower down to an elbow, and then the other. Slide the elbows out. Choose the leg position that feels good. You could stand cross-legged, you could plant the feet, you could extend the legs. You've got options. Notice how it affects the low back, different variations. So choose one that feels helpful. Checking in with the body again. After that alternate nostril breathing that we did, notice if there's been any changes to the energy level, to the ability to focus. The sensations across the body. We're continuing to relax the spine in this shape. Let's start to give ourselves a nice little neck massage. So bring the hands up and then just gently rub along the back of the neck. I kind of like to do long strokes in the up and down direction on the neck. Sometimes circles feels nice too. You can stick with the neck, or you can start sliding the hands down to the shoulder area, kind of the trapezius area. And as that starts to feel really good, let's open the elbows like football goal posts. They're open nice and wide. The elbows probably don't quite touch the ground, but just relaxing the effort downward like that gives it a chance for the pecs and the front of the shoulders to stretch. Sensations going on. Notice how this is affecting the battery level. Take 3 more breaths there. All 3 breaths. Release. We're sliding the elbows underneath the shoulders. And we'll plant one hand, plant the other hand. So just a gentle way to press our body up. Once we're up, let's take a forward fold. You can choose whether it feels better for the legs to be close or whether you personally like to go wide today. This could be the option where you sit up on the bolster, especially if hips feel like they're pulling you back. But again, we have the option to slide bolster in front, something easy to rest onto if you like how that feels. Just notice after the back bend, again going forward, it's helping to ease all sorts of tension out of that low back.
might be a point to adjust something if it feels like it would be helpful. Another 3 slow breaths. Gently ease the body up after that third one. Once we're up, we're going to take it into just an easy child pose. So child pose, you could choose to have the knees narrow or wide. That will affect how it feels on the back. You could also choose to have bolster under forehead or forehead on ground. Arms extending forward or backwards, so many options. Choose, hand select the child pose that's going to feel helpful for our back right here. Slowly start to rock the forehead on the ground, rocking across the top of the forehead to the right, eventually rocking across to the left. They say there's various acupressure points across the forehead, and by gently activating them, it's helping to induce the relaxation response in our system. Feels nice to return back to stillness at any point. Let's rest there. And again, let's take our 3 breaths. Really try to experience the belly breathing itself into the thighs. Gently after the 3, let's rise back up. We'll place the bolster how it was earlier, long ways toward the back of the mat. And once it's there, we're gonna sit on it and take a Balasana pose. So the feet will be planted, the elbows are on the insides of the knees, pushing the knees wide. If you're here and your knees want to go wider than you can do with just the hands gently pressing, shift it to fists. That'll push it just a little bit wider so you can experience it, see if you like it or not. And then try to see if the low back can lengthen a bit more tall. And then grow up, long spine up to the shoulder area. And from there, let's drop the chin down to chest, giving a gentle stretch for back of the neck. Try to release the weight of the head as heavy down as possible. A moment to slowly roll the head over to the right shoulder. Find the spot that feels good. So sometimes that's slightly forward of the shoulder or slightly backward. And the point where you can just take a few breaths to ease some tension out. Roll chin back down to chest. Work the way up, left ear over left shoulder. Again, find that spot. And roll back down, chin to chest, heavy one more time. Relaxing the head up. Here we're going to use the bolster to take a gentle back bend. You might scoot it up just a hair, and then the idea is laying either your thighs or your thighs and your hips on the bolster, and then by relaxing the rest of the body forward, it brings the back, that low back, into a nice gentle arched shape. So choose the intensity that feels good. You'll notice hips more on the floor feels very different. It'll kind of crunch the low back a little bit more compared to hips further back. So kind of play with it, scoot forward, scoot back a couple of times until you find the spot where you can just rest and it's not too intense for low back. Try to rest the belly, rest the chest, rest the head. Once again, let's head to those last 3 breaths. For all 3, start to slide your elbows underneath you. And then the knees coming off of the bolster helps to give you something to press away and up from. So now the bolster, slide it closer to top of mat and flip the orientation. We're sitting onto the bolster. And then we're going to use that to help us lay backwards. So the goal is to keep the hips on the bolster as we're heading backwards. So you might need to adjust as you go so that the hips do continue to be on the bolster. Good. So a nice counter stretch to what we just did for the back bend is to do a happy baby pose, now with the hips a little bit lifted like this. So gradually start to take the knees in, walk the hands up toward feet or shins, and feel how gravity is helping us this time to kind of roll this open hip shape. So feel how the low back is, those muscles are getting a gentle stretch. I'll give you a couple of other variations that we can play with. We'll spend a little bit of time in each of them. And then out of all of the options, choose your favorite to explore for a bit longer. So this is option 1, happy baby. Option 2, legs will start to straighten up to the sky. And then the goal is to try to find a spot where it's like the legs are just floating on their own. So sometimes I have to bring the legs slightly back of where they are, sometimes slightly forward, but there's more or less one spot where it feels like there's not work. It just kind of extends and stays in that spot. So this is a variation of legs up the wall. Just enjoy this nice sensation of draining the lymph, blood from the legs. Imagine what that's doing for the back. Like we're cleaning pipes, and so by doing so, things can flow through the lines a little bit better. So this is what option 2 feels like. And option 3 is playing with a nice restorative variation of a plow pose. So with this one, you start to walk your hands up the front side of the legs as the legs tilt toward the torso. And so in that way, the weight of the legs is supported. You choose how deep you want to make this based on how straight and how high up the hands are versus letting the legs come a bit closer. So you can feel how this one really starts to get some of those muscles of the low back, but also glutes and even hamstrings. So those are the places that we can play with. Now choose out of those 3 options the one that feels best and explore that for a while. Know that you don't have to be stuck in any one. Just feel free to play, explore until you find the one that feels perfect, just right. So from here, we're gonna slowly release the hands. Just let the knees come back to a bench shape. And one foot at a time goes to the ground. When the feet are resting on the earth, we'll take one last little stretch here. This one will bring us back into a gentle back bend shape. The gentle, easier version of this is just to do one leg at a time and then switch, and I'll tell you when the halfway point is. The deeper version is for both legs to go at the same time. So if you're just doing one leg starts to slide out long. If that feels good and you want to just have both join in right away, that's fine. If you're just sticking with one leg, I'll tell you when the switching point is. Just a couple of slow, deep breaths right here. One more deep breath for this half. We just did a half. Start to slide this leg in. Second leg extends out. One more breath, flow in, out. Slide this foot in, and here we start to head toward our Shavasana. So you've got plenty of options with the bolster today. One option would be sliding both legs back out if that arched shape feels like what your back needs. The next version would be kind of the opposite of that, which is scooting yourself backwards until you're off the bolster, your knees gently lifted up. So that one's extremely gentle on the low back. It helps that low back be more flat on the ground. And if there's any other variations that you prefer instead, like the bolster under the torso, that would be another option. Anything that feels good, explore it. I'll give you time. You're not stuck in any one thing that you choose. But as you start to settle your body into the Shavasana shape for our class today, return back to the breath. Imagining the breath here is that tremendous recharge. It's us tapping into the reserves and helping them increase. We'll be here for several minutes. Just keep breathing.
we're slowly gonna draw ourselves out of that restful state, like how we started class. Start to rub our hands together, creating that heat from friction. When that feels nice and warm, rest that on the eyes. Feel the eye muscles deeply relax. Gently removing the palms. Take the pitter-patter of the fingertips all across the hair, all across the scalp. We'll start to introduce other movements to the body. Let the fingers and the wrists circle out, the ankles and toes. A moment to do any stretches that feel nice. Sometimes removing bolster for a moment can be good. The low back, have gentle rocking. Sometimes just that extension, arm stretching up overhead like we're waking up. It feels nice to take a fetal position off to one side. You're welcome to if that feels good. And take just a couple of bonus breaths here. Maybe 3 or 4 good cycles until you feel ready to rise to a comfortable seated place. So here as we start to draw hands back to the heart, take a huge breath, imagining we're tapping into the battery or the energy reserve, checking in with how it feels now. We check in with our intuitive guidance to know what we can do to keep the energy in better balance, to make sure that we have energy going in and not only energy being drained out. So with this energy reserve, with this boost to help lead us on, let's wrap up the time we shared together with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.